is who's Armenian. I asked him about uh, visiting Yerevan a few months ago, but instead of going to Yerevan, I went to Istanbul instead.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
so yeah, but I've heard some great things about your country, though.
That's cool.
How long have you been studying on Colingo?
A year and 12 days.
A year and 12 days.
Yep.
Fantastic. So you remember exactly the day you started.
Yes.
That's
I
great. That's
remember
great.
first class.
Oh, that's awesome. And have you enjoyed the experience so far?
Yes. I love Congo.
Awesome, awesome. Well, great. Welcome to class. It's nice to see you.
Thanks.
How's it going, Rafa?
Perfect. I'm doing well, pretty
Uh,
well. Thank you.
uh-huh. Great, great. Welcome to class. I think it's your first time in my class as well, right?
Yeah, it's my first time in your class.
Fantastic. And where are you from?
I'm from Spain, from the capital, Madrid.
Madrid.
Yeah. Hmm.
Well, yeah, it's great to have you. Bienvenido.
Thank you. Gracias.
Absolutely. De nada, de nada. Hey, Ken, how's it going?
Yes, I'm fine. How are you?
Good, good. How's life in Japan?
Oh, two typhoons is approaching, so this week is, yeah, it's gonna be rainy
You guys are
this
just
week.
not having any luck with the weather, typhoon after typhoon, right?
Yeah. Yeah, this year is a lot of typhoon comes here.
Hmm.
Last year there's no typhoon hit last year, but this year a lot of typhoon comes. But maybe it doesn't hit this area. It hit Tokyo or north of Japan.
Yeah, you're from the south, right? You're from Kyushu?
Yes, so yeah, Kyushu, yes.
Kyushu, yeah. Interesting. So anyway, guys, both Luisa and Rafa, my name is Farhan. I live in the United States. I'm 24 years old, and I live in Wisconsin, which is not a lot of people know where this is, which makes sense, but Wisconsin is a state in the north central part of the country. So I'm about 2.5 hours from Chicago. Uh, Besides that, it's very cold here. Uh, I think the temperature outside is maybe 7 degrees Celsius, or last time I checked, it was 7, maybe 5 degrees Celsius. So it's very
Oh.
cold. Yeah, it's getting very cold now. And my state is not known for a lot. It's known for cheese, milk, cows. We have more cows than people in my state. So uh, it's an interesting scenario, yeah. But we have some really nice cities as well, some really nice lakes. So it's a farming state.
Hmm.
Is it plain or mountainous area?
It's a plain, yeah. It's a very flat
Mountain,
state, yeah.
wow.
We have rolling hills. We have some hills in the north, and eventually, if you keep going north, there are a lot of lakes actually. But then, after you pass the lakes, you're in Canada. So very close to Canada. Uh, Maybe 4 hours drive from Canada. Maybe 250 miles or 300 miles, something like that. So, yeah, we're in the north, and so why don't you guys tell me a little bit about where you guys are from? I know Ken already, but Louisa, can you tell me about Yerevan, about your city?
So recently we were celebrating the birthday of Yerevan. So it's now 2,792 years old.
Wow.
It's too old, but
Yeah.
it's still beautiful and it's growing. Now we have more new types of buildings
Hmm.
and maybe bad fact that the old buildings is now less on city. But we
Hmm.
still have many churches in the city, um, parks, yeah, many beautiful
So,
places. Yeah.
I'm sorry, go ahead, Lisa.
No, I finished.
2,792 years old?
Yep.
That is ridiculous. That's so, so long ago. I mean, I think Yerevan was one of maybe the earliest capital cities. I know they say that Damascus in Syria is also one of the oldest cities. I think Yerevan is up there. I think, settled cities. you guys have a very rich culture from many, many thousands of years ago, it seems.
Yep, we are.
Yeah, that's awesome. And Rafa, can you tell us about the city of Madrid?
Hmm. Madrid is a big city, but too much crowd sometimes with a lot
Hmm.
of cars. There are a lot of traffic jams in his streets, But also it's very comfortable right now because we are just where I live is in the very center, and there are a lot of neighborhoods very antique, with a lot of pubs, bars, restaurants, and discos, with a lot of people walking on the street. Due to the weather here is very, very nice. The major part of the year, and you can enjoy with a lot of theaters, movie theaters, bars, people on the street talking in terraces. It's a very comfortable city to live, and it's a nice city.
Nice, nice. Yeah, I've actually never visited Madrid, but when I studied Spain, I studied more. I studied. My focus was more on, like the southern part of Spain, so like Andalusia, Seville, like those cities. But Madrid, I never really learned too much about. But I know it's the capital. It's a capital of culture. There's a lot of culture in Spain that I think you can see in Madrid, right?
Sevilla and Granada and Salamanca, for example, or Toledo, are more famous around the world because they are they have a lot of historical buildings and also a lot of culture involved in there. But Madrid is more normal, more modern, but also has his own history.
Yeah, no, absolutely, absolutely. Thanks for sharing that, Rafa.
No, thank you.
So, hey, Maud, how's it going?
Hi, Farhan. Hi, everyone. Doing good. Yeah, nice to meet you guys.
Yeah, so Maud, could you tell us a little bit about yourself and about the city that you live in? I believe it was Bangkok, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I live in Bangkok, Thailand. I'm 31. I don't want to tell you about my age.
Oh, that's fine. No worries. That's fine.
Yeah, I'm a pharmacist. Work in a pharmacy. Yeah, and in Thailand, especially Bangkok is a capital of Thailand. It's so crowded and busy, traffic jam. Yeah, like Madrid, I think. We have lots of beautiful temples in Thailand, and some American teachers who who come to Thailand tell me about night markets.
Mm-hmm.
They like to go shopping at night market in Thailand. Yeah.
So are there a lot of night markets? Do people do a lot of shopping at night as opposed to the day? Or I think Bangkok is a city that is maybe awake 24 hours, right? It's always very busy. Even at night, I think you guys see traffic and shopping and stuff like that.
Yes.
Nice, nice. Well, that's great, guys. Thank you for introducing yourselves and for introducing your cities. Today we are going to be looking at, it is a travel article that we're looking at today. So instead of focusing on a country that a lot of people know about, I actually decided to choose an article about a country that is very unknown outside of its borders, and maybe even within its borders, it's not a very nice place to be. We're going to be talking about North Korea, and has been a new development in North Korea that their leader wants to create a different kind of resort for their people, specifically a ski resort. So before we look at that, guys, I want to quickly take a look at the grammar for today. We are going to be reviewing articles. So let's start with Ken. Ken, what is an article in English? What do we mean by that?
Article an, the.
Exactly, right? They are very short words, right? They are very short words, just a few letters. Articles are words that we place before nouns, right, to describe certain scenarios, right? So, or to introduce the noun into the sentence, or to indicate number, or to indicate other characteristics of the words, right? And we have specific rules for specific types of articles, right? So the first article that we are going to look at is the word the, right? We use the a lot in English, and some languages don't have an equivalent, right? For example, Spanish does have an equivalent. Spanish actually has two versions, but other languages don't have the word for the, right, or a word for the. So when do we use the in English, right? We use the before nouns that we are introducing. For example, if it's a new idea that we are introducing in a conversation, we would use the, right? So for example, I can say, so the man said to me, blah, 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 right? So the man said to me. I didn't talk about this man before. I'm introducing him in the conversation. So the man said to me, the woman, so the woman was walking down the street, whatever, right? And it's used for both singular and plural nouns, and the form does not change, right? Unlike other languages. So the teacher, the students, the houses, the beaches, whatever you want to say, we only have one form of the, regardless of whether it's a plural noun or whether it's a singular noun, right? So we use it when we are introducing someone in a conversation. The guy said to me. We use it at the beginning of sentences, right? When we are introducing something else. The house is really large, right? Or other kinds of scenarios. And we also use the specifically to refer to certain, I would call them maybe, celestial bodies, like planetary bodies, the earth, the moon, the sun, right? These words are always accompanied by the, right? But when we are referring to just the not the proper noun, when we are referring to simply the earth, the sun, and the moon, then we don't capitalize the E, right? When we are talking specifically about our planet Earth, we do capitalize the E. So that's where there's a little bit of I guess, confusion, right? So if I were to say, for example, the first sentence, if I were to say, I placed some earth in a pot, right? Let's say I'm going to be planting something. In this case, I don't capitalize the E, right? But if I'm talking about the planet Earth, then I would say, Earth would be capitalized because we're talking about a planet. Same thing with the sun, right? So the Earth revolves around the sun, right? In that example, since we were talking specifically about those particular examples, we would be, capitalizing the word Earth, right? Any questions, guys, so far on what I just went over?
No questions.
No.
No questions so far, Rafa. Ken. What about Maud and Luisa? You guys okay?
Yeah, I don't have any questions.
Okay. Fantastic. Let me move on then. So we're looking at specific examples of articles, right? When we look at articles. What are other times that we use the? We use the when we are talking about a class of people, right? When we're talking about a class of people, we use the. So for example, if we're talking about society, we can say the rich always have an advantage over the poor, right? The rich always have an advantage over the poor, right? And what's interesting is what are some other examples of classes of people that we can talk about? So I said the rich and the poor. What about another class? Let's go to Louisa.
Oh, sorry.
For example, we can say the rich, the poor. What's another class of people that we can use the word the with?
Mm.
Like, for example, when you hear people talk about society, right, you can hear the rich versus the poor. You can hear maybe the old versus the young, right? So these are other examples of words that we can use. What about, so let me ask you another question then, Louisa. What about, what's another example of something that we can say? Let's say we are talking about people who can read and people who can't read. How do we say those in English as classes of people?
Okay. It's a specific name, yeah?
Yeah, there's a specific word for it. If you don't know that word, I can help you out. Or maybe
I don't
somebody
know.
else can. Oh, that's fine, Louisa. Maybe somebody else can help you out. How do we say those who can read versus those who can't read? Can you guys help me out?
The educated, I don't know.
Yeah, the educated is a great example, right? The educated versus the uneducated, right? So those are two examples of groups that we can use the with, right? The educated versus the uneducated. The illiterate, people who can't read, versus the literate, right? So how about this? The literate, the illiterate, right? So these are all examples of words that we could use to describe classes of people, right? And then what else do we use the for? Specific bodies of water, specific geographic areas, right? The Atlantic Ocean, or the Atlantic Ocean, the Indian Ocean, the Nile River, right? The the Asian continent, right? Any of those things we use the with. When we talk about mountain ranges, right? So, for example, what's a big mountain range in the world? Like the Andes Mountains in South America, right? Or in Asia we have the Himalayas, right? All of these words would be capitalized and we would use the. So the Himalayas, um, the Pacific Ocean, right? These are all words that we would use, that we would, actually capitalize and also use the word the. Forests, places that are anything really geographically that is something that we are indicating is specifically has a name or has an area on the world. So the Gobi Desert, right? Whatever it's in Asia. All these different things we would use the, and we would also capitalize. Islands. So in Spain we have the Canary Islands, right? Or I think it's pronounced the Canary Islands, right? So like Mallorca, those cities are in that island group, right? So we would use the Canary Islands, right? What about proper names of countries, right? The Kingdom of Spain, okay? The United States of America, right? The People's Republic of China, right? Those are all formal names, and the entire sentence, or all the words would be capitalized, right? So the People's Republic of China, right? So these are all words that we would use the with and that we would capitalize. Any questions, guys, on the? The has a lot of different kind of subsets to it. A lot of different words can use the, a lot of capitalization rules and things like that. Any questions so far?
No.
No.
Okay. How about, so Ken, can you give me an example of a sentence using the? It doesn't matter. Any of these examples that we talked about. Locations, places, anything like that.
The band played at Madison Square Garden.
The band played at Madison Square Garden, right? Fantastic. And why did you use the band instead of band played?
I think maybe it's for the specific band name. the band, the
Uh-huh.
Beatles, or
Yeah. No,
whatever.
that may no, that makes sense. But it's also because you're introducing a new idea, right?
Mhm.
You're introducing a new idea to the sentence. So in English, generally, when we start a sentence, we are introducing a new idea, right? Which is why we see the at the beginning of so many sentences, right? It's a new idea, it's a new concept. You're talking about a band. What band? The band, right? Some languages don't have that. Some languages you can just say band and it makes complete sense, right? But in English, yeah, because you're introducing a new idea, we would be using the in that example, right?
Yeah,
Um,
kind of
yeah, go ahead,
double
Ken.
meaning. Sorry, it's a bit confusing.
It
Double
does have
meaning.
it does
Yeah.
have a double meaning, right? It's not it's something that the really can't be described. Like we just happen to use it. And for me, I like to think of it as when we are introducing something that we use it for the first time.
Yes.
What about Louisa? Can you give me a sentence with the?
Yeah. The Netherlands is a great place to visit.
The something is the best place to visit?
The Netherlands.
The middle one?
I will have that.
Okay. Sorry, I think maybe my sound is weak, Louisa.
No,
Oh, the Netherlands.
yeah,
The Netherlands. Okay, fantastic. Why did you use the Netherlands in this example?
because I know that Netherlands has the.
Yeah, right. It's sometimes describing it, I think it's the same answer that I gave to Ken, right? We're talking about something new. We're introducing something for the first time. And in this case, I think the official name of the country is the Netherlands, or maybe it's the Kingdom of the Netherlands, but it doesn't matter. What you said was perfectly fine. The Netherlands is a great place to visit, right? Um, we wouldn't say that for other places, though. The Netherlands is a specific example, right? So, for example, Louisa, we wouldn't say the Armenia is a great place to visit,
Yep, I know.
right? So I think because the Netherlands is a part of maybe the name of the country, that this makes perfect sense. So good job with that. Um, let's go to you, Maud. What's another example of a word or of a sentence with the word the?
Whales live in the ocean.
Whales live in the ocean, right? Fantastic. And why are we using the here?
Uh, it's like a moon, the sun, the ocean, the earth.
Yeah, right. It's something that we are describing a location and that we are, it's a noun that is known to everybody, right? Everybody understands the ocean. And it's a very general rule, right? If it makes sense in English, then we use the word the, right? That's what's actually kind of frustrating about this entire concept because it's such an easy rule that I don't even know how to describe it sometimes, right? Good job with that, Maud. And Rafa, last but not least, can you give us a sentence using the word the?
The Atlantic is the biggest ocean of the world.
The Atlantic is the biggest ocean in the world. Are you sure about that, Rafa, or are you just using this as
No,
an
no,
example?
no.
Okay,
No,
good,
it's
good,
only for
good.
practicing.
Exactly, fantastic, right? The Atlantic is the biggest ocean in the world, right? Or the Atlantic Ocean is the largest ocean in the world, right?
Better. Yeah.
Something like that. Yeah, fantastic, fantastic. So no questions, guys, on the use of the?
No.
Sometimes, in the classroom, in the textbooks,
Mhm.
before the vowel, that tend to be the. But I think many native speaker doesn't have such a rule actually, in my feeling.
What was the rule, Ken?
Before the vowel, you know,
Before a vowel?
yeah, that tend to be the apple. But some native
No.
speakers say the apple.
Yeah, you can say
Yeah.
anything really. You can say, for example, the apple, the book. It doesn't have to start with a vowel. Yeah. It could be any word, for example, that you're describing, right? Or any really. I mean, the is used so much. I don't even know if there's like a rule. It almost comes with the word, right? For example, when you teach kids like new words, they teach them the book, the cat, the house, right? It's like any noun almost just is accompanied by the when you're first teaching it to somebody. Um, I don't know, like for people who know Arabic, I think this makes a little bit more sense because they have the same rule in their language, but honestly, it's a little bit of a crazy
Yes.
rule.
Still in a
Uh-huh.
school English class,
Hmm.
yeah, teacher says before the vowel, you should say the apple. Yeah.
The apple. Uh-huh. And then what
Maybe
about if the word starts with a consonant? Then you're not supposed to say it.
consonant is the book.
Oh, so the pronunciation.
Yes.
Oh, I see what you mean. So the apple versus the book.
Yeah. But
Just the pronunciation of the word. Uh-huh.
some native speaker pronounce the apple even before
Yeah,
the vowel.
I
Yeah.
do that. I do that all the time.
Mhm.
Yeah, so in the apple. Yeah, the apple, you know? And I had a friend tell me one day that why are you saying the? It like he speaks he's not a native speaker, but he was telling me, why do you say the apple? Isn't it the apple or the book? I think it's just maybe the American accent, honestly, Ken. I think we
Okay.
say the and the are interchangeable, but I think in normal conversation, people say the a lot more.
Mm.
Like, give me the book, right?
Yeah.
Or the plane as I'm at the airport,
Mm.
right? I'm not at the airport, even though airport does start with a vowel, right? Uh,
Okay.
good point, good point. That's something I don't even realize when I speak, right? But it is a good question. It is a good thing to bring up. Okay, guys. So we had enough of what we have looked enough at the or the. So let's look at the other articles here. So the next article group that we're going to look at is a versus an, right? And these are articles that we use before singular nouns that are not known to everyone. Okay. So I guess the way that they are describing it here is we use the or the before nouns that are known to everybody. The ocean, the cow, the house, whatever, right? A and an we don't use when we use when something is not known to everybody, right? And here, Ken, we have a difference, right? We use a before nouns that start with a consonant and an before words that start with a vowel, right? So when you're introducing a new topic, let's say you're saying, I saw a horse today, right? You're talking about something that you saw that is not known to everybody. You saw a horse. Maybe somebody doesn't know about that horse particularly, right? I saw a horse today, right? I bought um, a bag today, right? I bought a bag today. Uh, and we can use them. So how would we change it? Um, Rafa, can you give me an example of a sentence that uses an instead of a? Oh, okay, Rafa left already. I'm sorry. Maud, could you give me an example of a sentence that starts or that has an instead of a?
Mm, I I like to eat an apple before breakfast.
Fantastic. I like to eat an apple before breakfast, right? So why did you use an instead of a?
Uh, mm, because uh, the vowel, I don't know, A-E-I-O-U.
Yeah, fantastic, right? The word apple starts with a vowel, right?
Uh,
An apple, right? So that's why we're using an. Because if it didn't start with a vowel, then we would have to use a, right? Does that make sense, Maud?
yes.
Okay, fantastic. No, that was a good job. You went through all the vowels, A, E, I, O, U, right? And sometimes Y. Y is also sometimes a vowel, right? So an apple, right? We can use it in front of singular and or before singular count nouns, right? An elephant, a cat, a park, a book, right? Whatever the case is, we can use we can use a or and, right? We also use a before number words, right? So I won $1 million, right? I won $100, right? For all of these number words, we use a, right? I won $100. I bought a dozen eggs, right? A dozen is 12, so I bought a dozen eggs, right? And We can also use a before quantity expressions, right? So, for example, a few cars, a little bit of water, a bunch of chocolate, right? So little bit, few, a bunch, or bunch. These are all words that are describing quantities, right? A lot, a little, a bunch, all of these kinds of words. Um, we would use a or an, right? Or specifically a, and an we use for words that start with vowels, right? Um, Ken, can you give me an example of a sentence with a or an?
Okay. Okay.
Uh,
There are an elephant on the street.
there is
There is
an
an elephant. Sorry, there is an
uh-huh.
elephant.
There is an elephant on the street, right? Fantastic, right? So you're using an because it starts with e, because the word elephant starts with e, and also because you're introducing something that may not be known to everybody, right? So let's think about it this way, guys. I don't think I did a good job describing it when I was talking about the word the, right? The we use when we are talking about nouns that are known to everybody, right? When you're just generally talking about something, the house, the moon, the car, the whatever, right? A or an we use when we are specifically talking about a certain type of noun that may not be known to everybody, right? Or you are specifically talking about something that is not general, right? You saw an elephant on the street, right? The elephant is okay. You tell somebody the elephant, everybody says, or people can think of what that looks like, right? Generally, the elephant lives in the forest, right? Just something very general, people can understand, right? You use the almost when you're talking to like a child, like you're teaching them something, right? The elephant lives in the forest, right? The books are in the library, right? A or an is when we have specific cases. Um, Louisa, can you give me an example of a sentence with a or an?
Yeah. An ox isn't so big.
An ox isn't so big,
Yeah.
right? Okay, fantastic. So I guess when we were looking at this example, why did we use excuse me, guys. Sorry. Why did we use an in this case?
Because ox starting with O is vowel.
Exactly, right? An ox isn't so big. So you're talking about a specific ox, let's say, that you saw maybe in the farm or something like that, right?
Yes. But you don't know
Yeah.
about that ox, so
Exactly, yeah. I could have never seen this ox. The ox could be living in, somewhere in Yerevan, somewhere in Armenia, right? I've never seen that ox before. Fantastic. And Maud, did we hear from you already for this sentence? Let's give us
Yes.
another one. Just fine. Like, give us another one.
Okay.
Uh,
I have a book in front of me.
I have a book in front of me, right? Fantastic, right? We're talking about a specific kind of book that I have never seen or we don't know about, right? It's a specific book that is in front of you right now, right? Fantastic, guys. Fantastic. Any questions about A or An so far, guys?
I have a question. Uh,
Yeah, go ahead.
I watched The Voice TV show yesterday, and Christina said, you have a great voice. And I want to know when she said, you have a great voice, is voice countable now? Why she said a great
That's a very good
voice?
question. Is voice a countable noun? I would say so. I would say so, right? Because when we are talking about English, right, countable nouns we use like a voice. You can have multiple voices, right? You can count different voices. For example, if you're listening to somebody singing or a group of people singing, maybe in a concert, maybe in an opera, right? You do have multiple voices. So we can count voices as separate, separate things, right? So as a result of that, I would say voice is a countable noun. And remember, we do use a in front of, singular count nouns, right? So here, like before we said, like a park, an elephant, all these kinds of things, right? Similarly here, because it's a singular count noun, she has one voice, right? and voices are a count noun, or voice is an example of a count noun and it's single, we can go ahead and use a for that, right? What did you think there could be something else that could work as well when you heard that, or were you just curious about it? Like, did you think maybe she should have said the, you have the beautiful voice, or something else like that, or
Hmm.
can you hear me, Ahmad, or do you understand?
I understood.
Uh-huh.
I just think about callable now and uncallable now, and I don't think voice can count.
Yeah, you know, I do see what you're saying, right? Um, is a voice countable? I mean, think about this, right? If you hear a lot of different people speaking, then you can tell the differences, right? You can tell that there are multiple voices in a conversation or in a group, right? That's how I would justify making voice a count noun versus a non-count noun, right? Um, for example, so because remember, non-count nouns are things that are words that, for example, like water, right? You can't count water, or you can't count different kinds of things. Um, they would be non-count, right? So sand, salt, sugar, water, blood, right? Snow. All these examples are non-count nouns, right? If you can make if you can make a noun into a plural, and it makes sense to make it in the plural, then usually it's a count noun, right? Because we can make voice into voices, right? But you really can't make snow into snows, or blood into bloods, or water into waters when we're talking about um, like the physical, something that you drink, right? Does that kind of make sense, Maud? I want to make
Yeah,
sure,
yeah.
because we can't. If you say voices, it makes sense in English, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because it has a singular and a plural form, and that's kind of a trick to think about when we think about count and non-count nouns. Is it possible to make a if there's a word that we're not sure about, if it's countable or non-countable, just make it plural. Does it make sense to make it plural? Well, let's say voice, voices. Yeah, people say that, right? For example, in like horror movies, they say like somebody was dreaming and they heard lots of voices, right? Maybe a ghost, maybe something else, right? So we do hear voices.
Mm.
Uh, Maybe that's a good way to think about it. But let me know if you have any other questions about this.
I just confused many times about count and non-count nouns.
Yeah, were there any other ones that you were not sure about, like voice?
Um, Ice cream, we can say an ice cream, right?
Yeah, wow, that's a good one too, right? I
Or a
think
cone of ice cream.
yes, I was just about to say that,
Not
right?
sure.
Ice
Yeah.
cream in by itself is a non-count,
Oh.
right? For example, I bought lots of ice cream. They had lots of ice cream, right? But if you say ice cream cone or ice cream bar, that becomes
Mm-hmm.
countable, right? So I had 7 ice cream cones, right? Or I ate 6 bars of or 6 bars of ice cream, or 6 ice cream bars, right? But ice cream by itself, right? Let's make it plural. Ice creams, never heard of that,
Mm.
right? That's why that would make ice cream a non-count.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, no worries. Hopefully that helps, guys. Any other questions, guys? Louisa and Ken, you guys have been kind of quiet. Sorry.
Yeah,
Any other
that
questions?
rule is quite confusing, so
Yeah,
and it's
yeah.
very helpful. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. Louisa, any questions from you?
Nope.
Okie dokie, guys. So let's take a look then at our article for today, guys. And we're talking about North Korea. And, you know, as everyone knows, it's kind of a crazy country. But we are going to read about, um, oh, hopefully the link opens. I think maybe I just tried opening the link myself, and there might be a technical problem with the website. Yeah. Okay, guys. Let me try to find the article in another magazine real quick, and I'll paste that into our link. Let's see. Okay. We are going to read this article instead. It's the same. It's the same story, except it's just in a different article because the original one doesn't open. Okay. So. You guys can go ahead and open this link. I'm going to screen share as well so that we can all take a look. Let me know if you guys have any problems opening this link up. Do you guys all see it?
Yes.
Okie dokie. So North Korea opens Munsu Water Park with over-the-top celebrations. The secretive nation is hoping that this latest project will improve the country's global image, right? So we see here a picture of a very nice water park. I mean, it looks like it's a very, very fun place to be, right? It looks like something maybe out of a magazine. But let's read more about this, right? In a show of over-the-top pomp and display that is typical of North Korea, the secretive state has unveiled a new water park in Pyongyang. The Munsu Water Park in the east of the city is filled with colorful water slides, swimming pools, and glass pyramid roofs similar to those at the Louvre in Paris. To mark the opening, a building dedication ceremony was held just outside the complex and attended by hundreds of people. The celebration, which seemed more like a military parade than an opening ceremony, included releasing helium balloons into the air. From the images released by official state media, the Korean Central News Agency, there appears to be more people dressed in formal uniform inspecting the park than revelers actually enjoying themselves in the water. The park itself seems to be empty, with a vacant car park and very few people on the rides. Back in September, photos emerged of the North Korean leader Kim Jong Un inspecting the site while it was still under construction. This latest project is yet another attempt to portray North Korea as a thriving nation, rather than one struggling to feed its people with a questionable record on human rights abuses. Earlier this month, North Korea was trying to speedily complete the Masik Pass ski resort in a secluded eastern region of the country. The resort was supposed to have opened on the 10th of October, to coincide with the 68th anniversary of the formation of the Korean Workers' Party. However, the North Korean government has been silent on the matter, and photographs from September show that the Masik Pass was far from finished. It was hoped that the ski resort would encourage its people to take up sports, include skiing, but a question still hangs over whether North Koreans would be able to afford to ski. Similarly, there is a question of whether citizens of the secretive nation will be able to afford to visit the Munsu Water Park, right? So originally, guys, the link that I was sharing with you guys was about the ski resort, which we read about in this article, right? So this Masik ski resort is this ski resort that was going to be opening up in North Korea in the eastern part of the country, but it's still not done, right? The government hasn't said anything about when it's going to be done or if it's even going to be possible to finish it. On the other hand, so they had this ski resort being opened up in the north of the country. They also had this water park opening up in the east of the country, right? So, looking at the situation, guys, let's start with Maud on the far right. Maud, what do you think about? Do you think this water resort, this water park, will it see a lot of activity?
Yes. I like the background scene. It seems like the park around with the mountains and the activities that I see. Yeah, I see lots of sliders.
Lots of
Quite
slides,
fun.
yeah. Lots of
Yeah.
activities at the park, right? But what about, do you think a lot of North Koreans will be able to visit this park?
Yes. Why not?
Okay, that's good, right? So North Koreans will be able to visit the park. What about Louisa? What do you think about this park? Do you think it'll be a busy place? Will we see lots of people there?
There is not so many people. I think it will work. Many few months ago, it looks nice.
It looks nice, right? It definitely has the appeal. So you guys are agreeing that it definitely has the appeal of being a location that has you know that has cool rides, cool slides, and things like that that people can come to see, right? And Ken, what about you? Do you think that this will be a busy place?
I don't think so because many people's hunger cannot buy a food, or even though they have money, they cannot get enough food because of the economic sanction and kind of malfunctioned economy there.
Hmm.
So it's kind of a showcase for the propaganda.
Yeah, so Louisa and Maud, I a little bit more agree with what we are hearing from Ken, right? I mean, the country, yeah, the park looks beautiful, right? The park has a lot of fun slides and things like that. But in the article itself, they were saying that there were more military people at this park than there were, children or families who wanted to celebrate or have fun in the park, right? And why is that, Ken? Could you give us a little bit of background on why these sanctions? Why the military? I mean, what's going on in North Korea these days?
I don't know exactly happened in North Korea these days, but the reason of the economic sanction is uh, North Korea claimed the satellite launch, but
Hmm.
other countries doubt they are developing nuclear weapons.
Hmm.
And they actually attacked, the South Koreans, the small island of South Korea 2 years ago. So in order to their budget, most of their national budget spent such military budget.
Hmm.
And plus economic sanction happened because of that nuclear problem. So, and a lot of bribe happening in the society. So because of the system of very kind of clearly hierarchy, class-based centered of the dictatorship society.
Hmm.
So these are the reason why still many people is dying for hunger there,
Yeah, a lot
especially
of
in the
people.
winter time.
Yeah, right. A lot of people in North Korea don't have the food that, don't have any money, don't have any food. So, I mean, Maud, if you look, if we can think back to this article, then, right? Um,
Mm.
who do you think will be able to go to the park? It will be busy maybe sometimes, but who would be able to go to the park then? If not the normal people, who could go?
Mm, soldiers.
Yeah, right. The soldiers. Maybe who else in a dictatorship like North Korea? Who else would be able to go? Maybe soldiers. Maybe themselves would not go, but maybe who else? Maybe their families, right, Maud?
Ah, yeah.
Maybe if your father is a general in the North Korean army and you have a nice house and money, then maybe it'll be something for them, right? Um, Tourists also, Luisa. Yeah, so explain that actually, Luisa. What do you think about tourists?
They will go there because they actually don't know what is going on, and by only few people going there, and maybe they didn't see it in their country, so they will go there in Korea.
Yeah, right. I think that's a good idea, right? And when it comes to tourism in North Korea, it's actually a very special situation. They don't allow anybody to just visit North Korea alone, right? North Korea has a very specific visa policy. So if you want to visit North Korea, you have to go in a group, and the group has to be led by somebody from the North Korean government, right? So a North Korean tour guide will take you to the capital, will take you to all the buildings, all the parks, all these locations, and this is something that maybe they will include in their schedule now for tourists, right? to see that North Korea has a modern, water park. Humud, how's it going, man? You kind of joined the class a little late.
Yeah, I
Uh,
joined late.
no problems. We're talking about North Korea, Humud, and question that I'll start with you, right? I'm going to ask this question to you first. Um, North Korea has a dictator, right? This guy named Kim Jong Un. He's the dictator of the country. Um, do you believe that? Why do you think he's trying to make all these things in his country? Like he said, he wanted to make a ski resort. He wanted to make. Now he made this water park, right? What's he trying to achieve? What's his goal in doing this? What do you think?
I don't know, but I think they want to have their nuclear weapon, and some of the biggest country doesn't want North Korea to get a nuclear weapon.
Yeah, that's right. But then, is he building these resorts and these parks to maybe show the world that he's not a dictator? Maybe he wants to show the world, hey, my people are just as normal as anybody anywhere.
Maybe the population of North Korea are satisfied.
With him,
Satisfied with their governor.
with the government. Okay, interesting. Next question for you guys actually is, so I think actually Luisa kind of already answered this question, but do you think, so Luisa thinks that this will help maybe the tourists, right? Tourists will be able to visit this park and will be able to, enjoy this park. What about Maud? Do you think the same thing? Do you think it's going to help boost tourism?
I don't know about the dictator. I want to know, does he like his people?
Ken, do you want to answer?
Actually, the former Kim Jong-il's wife interviewed with Time magazine. She was a political refugee in Europe, and she said even the Kim Jong-il passed away anyway, but even the top leader Kim Jong-il cannot control the situation. It's like a runaway train.
Wow.
So because of such a strong militarism, and maybe even the top leader cannot control the situation. But people always says, thanks to the top leader, we can get this kind of park, or we can, blah blah blah. That kind of phrase, a common phrase when North Korean was interviewed, because if maybe it seems like if they didn't say so, it could be dangerous thing happen to them.
Yeah.
It seems like that.
It's really hard to tell, Maud. Honestly, I think part of what we heard right now is absolutely true, right? Like we don't know what is going on in that country, right? Who is ruling the country? Is it the Kim Jong Un? Is it the dictator? Is it the military? I mean, who has more power? Who is doing what, right? It's very hard to tell. But I mean, let's put it in this example, right? Let's say you are visiting North Korea, Maud, okay? Would you like to go to this water park and check it out?
Hmm. Yeah, if I don't know about this country, and yeah, I want to go traveling. Yeah, maybe possible.
Yeah, I think so, right? It might be a location that's very cool to check out, right? Tourism might be helped a little bit at least by this park. Um, do you think, so I'm going to ask this to Luisa, right? So Luisa, when we look at the country of North Korea, right, we always see that it is, I mean, there are two Koreas, right? There's a North Korea, there's a South Korea, right? Do you think North Korea is doing all of this because it wants to compete with South Korea?
Can be.
Right? Possibly, right? What does South Korea have that North Korea doesn't have, for example?
Have no idea.
South Korea, so South Korea can, right? Correct me if I'm wrong, man, because you're from the neighborhood, right? South Korea is a much more developed country, uh, no sanctions, modern country, right? And I mean, South Korea has all this technology. It's a very rich country. North Korea, on the other hand, has maybe nothing in comparison, right? They have very little technology, lots of sanctions, lots of government control, lack of freedom, right? And that those might be reasons. Maybe there's that competition that is playing into why North Korea is doing all of this, right? Last but not least, let's say you have the control over North Korea's money, right? And we have heard about all of this stuff that North Koreans don't have food, don't have electricity, don't have, basic things. Would you guys, so let's start with Maud. Would you spend this money on something else, or would you still decide to build this water park?
I would spend my money with my food, uh, something else, but not a water park.
So you would spend the money designing, maybe making a better program for food to help the people, right?
Yeah, medicines, yeah, things like that.
Things like that, yeah. Louisa, would you do the same thing, or would you want the water park?
I will go there.
Yeah, I know it's hard to tell, right? A lot of my articles, when I talk about different things, it's all about imagining, right, what you would do, right? But I mean, let's say it happens in your own country, like let's say in Armenia, people have a bad economic situation. Should the government make a park, or should they feed the people?
Um, Hard question. If they
Yeah.
want, yeah, I don't know.
It's hard to tell. Okay, that's fine, no problems. What would you do, Humud, if you were ruling maybe, Saudi Arabia? What would you do?
I would provide, or I would provide my service to my population.
Hmm. Instead of making a water park,
Yeah.
right? Okay, fantastic. And Ken, what about you, last but not least?
Yeah, water park is not a priority. People's lives is a top priority to protect people's lives. Yeah.
Absolutely, I 100% agree. I think it's actually kind of funny that they were able to make such a large park without people saying why. Our people are starving. In any case, guys, any other questions? I know we started this conversation a long time ago, it seems, with articles, right? So and we looked at specific types of scenarios that use those articles, and then we practiced some of this in our article today, which was about North Korea. Any questions, guys, on what we talked about?
No.
Okay, Ma's okay. Luis, are you okay as well?
Yep.
Okay, fantastic. Humud and Ken?
It's clear. Okay.
It's clear? It makes sense? Okay.
No, please.
Fantastic, guys. All right, well, I have another class starting right now, so you guys are welcome to join that. Otherwise, I'll see you guys sometime soon, hopefully.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Bye
guys.
bye.
Bye.
Take care, guys. Bye-bye. Who's Armenian, I asked him about visiting Yerevan a few months ago, but instead of going to Yerevan, I went to Istanbul instead.
Oh.
Yeah, but I've heard some great things about your country, though.
Yeah, cool.
How long have you been studying on Colingo?
A year and 12 days.
A year and 12 days.
Yep.
Fantastic. So you remember exactly the day you started.
Yeah.
That's great.
I
That's
remember
great.
first class.
Oh, that's awesome. And have you enjoyed the experience so far?
Yes, I love Congo.
Awesome, awesome. Well, great. Welcome to class. It's nice to see you.
Thanks.
How's it going, Rafa?
Perfect. I'm doing well, pretty well. Thank you.
Great, great. Welcome to class. I think it's your first time in my class as well, right?
Yeah, it's my first time in your class.
Fantastic. And where are you from?
I'm from Spain, from the capital, Madrid.
Madrid.
Yeah. Hmm.
Well, yeah, it's great to have you. Bienvenido.
Thank you. Gracias.
Absolutely. De nada, de nada. Hey, Ken, how's it going?
Yes, I'm fine. How are you?
Good, good. How's life in Japan?
Oh, two typhoons is approaching, so this week is, yeah, it's gonna be rainy
You guys are
this
just
week.
not having any luck with the weather. You guys have a very rich culture from many, many thousands of years ago, it seems.
Yeah, we are.
Yeah, that's awesome. And Rafa, can you tell us about the city of Madrid?
Hmm. Madrid is a big city, but too much crowd sometimes with a lot of cars. There are a lot of traffic jams in his streets, But also it's very comfortable right now because we are just where I live is in the very center, and there are a lot of neighborhoods very antique with a lot of pubs, bars, restaurants, and discos, with a lot of people walking on the street. Due to the weather here is very, very nice. The major part of the year, and you can enjoy with a lot of theaters, movie theaters, bars, people on the street talking in terraces. It's a very comfortable city to live, and it's a nice city.
Nice, nice. Yeah, I've actually never visited Madrid, but when I studied Spain, I studied weather, typhoon after typhoon, right?
Yeah, yeah. This year is a lot of typhoon comes here. Last year there's no typhoon hit last year, but this year a lot of typhoon comes. But maybe it doesn't hit this area. It hit Tokyo or north of Japan.
Yeah, you're from the south, right? You're from Kyushu?
Yes, so yeah, Kyushu. Yes.
Kyushu, yeah. Interesting. So anyway, guys, both Luisa and Rafa, my name is Farhan. I live in the United States. I'm 24 years old, and I live in Wisconsin, which is not a lot of people know where this is, which makes sense, but Wisconsin is a state in the north central part of the country. So I'm about 2.5 hours from Chicago. Uh, Besides that, it's very cold here. I think the temperature outside is maybe 7 degrees Celsius, or last time I checked, it was 7, maybe 5 degrees Celsius. So it's very cold. Yeah, it's getting very cold now. And my state is not known for a lot. It's known for cheese, milk, cows. We have more cows than people in my state, so it's an interesting scenario, yeah. But we have some really nice cities as well, some really nice lakes, so it's a farming state.
Is it plain or mountainous area?
It's a plain, yeah. It's very more. My focus was more on, like the southern part of Spain, so like Andalusia, Seville, like those cities. But Madrid, I never really learned too much about. But I know it's the capital. It's a capital of culture. There's a lot of culture in Spain that I think you can see in Madrid, right?
Sevilla and Granada and Salamanca, for example, or Toledo, are more famous around the world because they are they have a lot of historical buildings and also a lot of culture involved in there. But Madrid is more normal, more modern, but also has his own history.
Yeah, no, absolutely, absolutely. Thanks for sharing that, Rafa.
Thank you.
So, hey, Maud, how's it going?
Hi, Farhan. Hi, everyone. Doing good. Yeah, nice to meet you guys.
Yeah, so Maud, could you tell us a little bit about yourself and about the city that you live in? I believe it was Bangkok, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I live in Bangkok, Thailand. I'm 31. I don't want to tell you about my age.
Oh, that's fine. No worries. That's fine.
Yeah, I'm a pharmacist. Work in a pharmacy. Yeah, and in
Flat state. Yeah.
Wow.
We have rolling hills. We have some hills in the north. And eventually, if you keep going north, there are a lot of lakes actually. But then after you pass the lakes, you're in Canada. So very close to Canada. Uh, Maybe 4 hours drive from Canada, maybe 250 miles or 300 miles, something like that. So, yeah, we're in the north. And so why don't you guys tell me a little bit about where you guys are from? I know Ken already, but Louisa, can you tell me about Yerevan, about your city?
So recently we were celebrating the birthday of Yerevan. So it's now 2,792 years old.
Wow.
It's too old, but
Yeah.
it's still beautiful and it's growing. Now we have more new types of buildings,
Hmm.
and maybe bad fact that the old buildings is now less on city. But we
Hmm.
still have many churches in the city, um, parks, yeah, many beautiful
So,
places. Yeah.
I'm sorry, go ahead, Lisa.
No, I finished.
2,792 years old?
Yep.
That is ridiculous. That's so long ago. I mean, I think Yerevan was one of maybe the earliest capital cities. I know they say that Damascus in Syria is also one of the oldest cities. I think Yerevan is up there. I think, settled cities.